When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call it damn leads. Call it damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, heard it, been through it. Now I'm bringing those stories to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. It doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest, no stranger to the journey. I'd like to welcome my friend, Mr. Dan Charles. How are you, sir?
Hey, welcome. Thank you for having me on the show. Great to be here.
Excited to be here with you, man. I know you're going to bring a unique perspective, so I want to jump right in. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Sounds great. So I basically got into sales when I burnt out in an agency I used to work in, and then I had to go freelance. And I had my eldest daughter just arriving, and I'd left my work, and it was completely stressed out. And I was like, right, okay. So I was good at marketing and stuff like that, but being good at marketing on its own doesn't mean you kind of make the cash unless you actually get clients in the door, right? So I had to kind of work out how to make some cash pretty damn quickly, right? And I was like, okay, what's the quickest way to do this? Right, so I'm just going to literally start cold calling local businesses and just try and sell them websites and all this kind of stuff. Did not have a clue what I was doing, but just kept on chatting to people until a few of them kind of probably had a bit of sympathy, I think, at first. And, I kind of got a few sales in the door and things, but turned out I was actually pretty good at that kind of side of things as well. And basically kind of started doing a lot more kind of cold outbound and all those kind of things, a million trial and error pieces and, lots of punches in the face along the way, as it were. But got to a point where I started up my own agency now, and I'm, the founder of that agency. I still take on all the sales for the business, and we have some really nice kind of mechanisms in place and good sales process and stuff. A great offer, I think, which is, it's bringing in the cash.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to go into something deep there because I think this is something a lot of newer, younger sales professionals don't recognize or they don't give enough gratitude and appreciation to. It's those couple first clients that almost have sympathy for you because like they just know you're fumbling your way through the whole process and they're just like, oh, this is brutal, but this poor kid's working so hard. I'm going to let him have it. Because I think that's those early wins, they're the piece that get you the momentum to keep going forward. And I really think too many people are quitting their journey before giving themselves a chance to even find those sympathetic people. And so when you were going through that process and kind of just like, I'm going to cold call all these local businesses and you were getting the rejection, what was the thing that you told yourself that you had to just keep showing up no matter what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things which kept reminding me constantly was hearing my baby daughter downstairs giggling and laughing and crying and all that kind of stuff. And like for me, that was 100% my biggest why. I'm sure a lot of founders, fathers, that would be there too, And I was like, I absolutely cannot let this thing fail. So it was kind of really, that was what was getting me up at sort of 5, 6 in the morning every day, doing 14-hour days, ultimately for months and months and years on end. I mean, you ask my wife, she'll remember times when I fell asleep face down at my desk at 9 p.m. in the evening after doing like a 14-hour day. I'm sure we can all relate to that. I actually literally fell asleep on the desk down like that. Woke up, got up again at 5 a.m. and carried on. And ultimately, it was like, I didn't come from a place of kind of privilege or anything when I was young. Actually, probably not poverty, but damn, my parents were not well off at all. And so ultimately, I wanted, the amazing lessons they taught me along the way, I wanted to kind of do even better for my children and, and my wife and things, and just really make sure that they had the life that I feel they deserve. And I was like, okay, so if it means I have to get up every day and kind of eat glass, for like 14 hours a day, then I will do that forever if I have to, It's that kind of mentality, I think, which just genuinely got me. Thankfully, I didn't have to do that forever, because you get the reps in over time. You do generally get better at it if you want to get better at it, Now it does come pretty naturally to me, which I'm quite happy about. And because I run my own business now, I can engineer it so that it's set up how I want to be positioned, the type of people I'm talking to, and I'm disqualifying people now. I mean, I'm not trying to sell to them, I'm trying to disqualify people now. And that's only come from 9 years or so. I started like 2016, 2025 now. So it's been like 9, nearly 10 doing that I'm in a position where I am now,
No, and that's the thing too. So many people look at someone as far along in the game as you are. I mean, a decade doing this is no small feat. I think the statistic is most small businesses fail
Mm.
by year 3. And so to continue to push through and knowing the cycles, the ups and downs of everything that's happened in the last decade, it's just a testament to your continuing to have that belief of, I'm just going to wake up and show up every day, do what's necessary. But the transition to, I'm now going to engineer my day in a
Mm.
way that maximizes my effectiveness to me, my family, my business, my clients. Like you start to really prioritize. And that is a part of this that I really like to go deep with in general, because we can make more money. And
Yeah,
I'm sure along the way you've had clients that have offered you lots of money to do things and you just went, no, I can't, because it doesn't align with what I want to build for my business. And when you started running into those situations, how did you handle it? Like, what's people get scared to turn away business, Dan. So, like, how do you handle that point where you're disqualifying those people and saying, listen, it's just not a good fit?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So definitely when I first started out, I was like, have you got a pulse? Have you got a credit card? I will take your money and I will do what is required, right? I did that for a very long time as a freelancer, and that was ultimately how it goes. So you got to do what you got to do, right, to make sure you're putting bread on the table and your kids are fed and things. But as time kind of went along, 2019 was when I officially started up the agency, just before the pandemic, which wasn't fantastic. So I was running through that, but I'd kind of built up a bit of a client base, and at that point, I kind of knew some of the clients were good, some of them weren't, and I was like, right, I need to say goodbye to some. If I'd known the whole world was going to shut down like 3 months later, I probably wouldn't have said goodbye to them when I did. But it was like okay, and so really from there, I was kind of like okay. So during the whole pandemic, 2020, 2021, I was sending out personalized videos like via cold email, all that kind of stuff, and really kind of like, who do I want to work with? I need to go and work with bigger, better clients. Like ultimately, I can't be working with these small clients because it's burnout territory. And so I just kind of really started focusing more and more on that. And what I found was at that point when I let go of all those clients, I said no to a lot of work that I used to do. And I just said, I got more profitable almost straight away. Even through the pandemic, I got more profitable because I was working with less clients, but better ones. And I was like,
That's
hey,
crazy how that works.
why am I say no? I get more money. What's that all about? Do you know what I mean? So I then moved along a couple of years later. I was saying no, and we're not doing any of these services. No, we're not serving that niche. We're not doing this and that. Every time I did that, got more and more profitable, and to the point now where we only work with B2B event services. That's it. Like, and we're 100% specialist in that market. It's high ticket market, 6-figure deals all day long in that market. Corporates spending millions on events and things. So we only need to get a few leads for these clients. But I've personally had experience in that industry. So I'm like, this is how I can steer myself to position myself more in an environment where I can win far more often than not. And now my close rate, I'm not trying to brag, my close rate's like 65%, and it used to be like 10, like it used to be like 10 or lower when I was doing the local leads and all that sort of stuff. And they're giving me like 5, 10x the money. And so it's just kind of like every time I said no, it just got better and better and better. And that's kind of ultimately what kept me persevering, through that. Yeah.
It's it's so interesting how that shift happens, and to go through it is an experience that one has to actually go through to really appreciate and understand, because it is so scary to
Yeah.
say no. And as you mentioned, this is more common than not, but when you start to niche down and specifically say, hey, I only work with this specific person, your messaging gets better, your close rate goes up, your headaches go away, those late nights chomping on the pillow, freaking out because everything's burning down when you're, trying to get it all sorted. That stuff stopped happening. And it's hard, but what I'd be interested for you, Dan, because, coming from the event space, you said, and going now into like, that's your world. What kind of clients were you taking on early that you realized were like, I got to get out of here ASAP?
Yeah, sure. So some of them were really small, like almost like one person kind of businesses and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that, but they, for every £100 they gave you, they expected £1,000 worth of work, and so it was kind of problematic like that. And then very low ticket e-commerce, like e-commerce brands who are selling stuff like sub £10, $12 or so. Absolutely no way you can scale that up without huge volume, and none of them had the cash flow capital to do that. So it was like they would expect you almost to be going out sending carrier pigeons out to go and get sales for them for their shop and stuff. It's not going to happen out of the budget. And yeah, and what I found was really just like a lot of those kind of businesses were just the ones where I was like, look, this is never going to work, and it was those ones where I always spent 3-4 times more time working and looked at the bottom line. I was like, right, so I actually charged them far less and I worked 3-4 times more. So, some of them I think, oh man, when I first started out, I was getting some like £4 or £5 an hour. I was like, hell no, worth more than that. And now, because sales is one of the 4 things I do, obviously as a founder, seeing over the operations and stuff. Like my hourly rate, I'm not trying to brag, but it is 100x that sort of thing now. And I'm quite happy with that, and that's it. And it's just kind of focusing on again on just saying no to all those people. But yeah, low ticket e-commerce and really broke one person kind of like shops and stuff like that. It's not.
I love this, and I have a follow-up question to it because I think there's a lot of people who are currently in that position, right? They have a handful of clients and they're getting by, but they kind of feel on the hamster wheel, like they can't get out of the swamp or whatever they're stuck in. So what was your approach to ending the relationship with those clients who were ultimately there to support you when you got started, the sympathy clients, but then you realize like, hey, how did that go?
Yeah. So it was definitely a challenge, and like you said earlier, kind of saying no or goodbye to that kind of stuff was like literally saying goodbye to money. And it was like, when you don't have a lot of money, it's kind of like, oh, that's not ideal at all. But what I really did was I was like, I can't be working in this scenario moving forward, so I need to be focusing on getting some higher value clients in the door. And ultimately, that comes down to how you position yourself, how you are being found and seen by them, and how you are approaching them more in a partnership scenario. So I started doing a bit more networking, face-to-face stuff. I was like, right, well, where are the businesses who are going to give me like 1, 2, 3 grand? Like, where are they? They're not here or there. They're not working in these kind of scenarios. They're like at these networking events and things like that. So I kind of started putting myself them in those environments. And what I found was, I dressed smart, looked presentable, looked like one of them, as it were, and I had my business card, had that conversation with them, positioned myself as someone goes, hey, look, listen, I think I could help you. I really love what you're doing. Let's have a chat. And then oftentimes, just having that confidence to kind of go up to them and say, I feel like I can help you, was enough for them to want to at least have the conversation. And by going out there and kind of really putting myself in the firing line, I managed to secure a few high value clients. And that immediately allowed me then to actually say goodbye to some of those smaller clients. So I had to go out there and really put my neck on the line, as it were, to kind of win those higher value clients in the first place. And then it did make it a lot easier to say goodbye to those, ones who were good when I first started out, but weren't ideal. So, that's kind of ultimately it was, yeah.
No, I love that. And what's so cool about that is on your journey as a sales professional, entrepreneur, small business owner, whatever label you slap on yourself that day, you got 19 different hats on, so it doesn't matter. But at each level, when you step into your confidence and you believe in yourself, there is a group of people who are business owners at the level you want to be at who will have the same sympathy for you as the people who started with you when you first got it and had no clue what you were doing. It's so crazy how when you get into those rooms and you step into that confidence and you walk up and you present yourself, not salesy, not like an obnoxious way, but as you said, dress sharp, look the part, talk valuable, but without trying to overly pitch people. Those same guys who had that start that you had where, hey man, somebody had to give you a chance, they're going to want to give you a chance, but they just have deeper pockets and they understand that it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
So I love that you shared that, Dan, because I think it's so interesting how that continues to work over and over, no matter what level you're on.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's like you said, you kind of mirror the whole way up, and it's like if you're not changing how you approach things over the long term, don't expect different results ultimately. And each level, it does get harder in some ways, but it gets easier because you've got that bank of massive skills that you've kind of learned the whole way through, sort of thing. And it's like, now you're kind of like understanding that the more wealthy the client, the bigger problems they have and the more they value their time. So the more you can charge to solve a bigger problem, which gives them more of their time back. And that's the ultimate leverage for them. Because like, say if you go, hey, this is 100 grand to fix this, but they know it's going to unlock like 1.5, 2 mil over the next year or two, then it's an absolute no-brainer for them, and especially if you really know what you're talking about with that, because you've got 10, 12 years or whatever experience, doing this specific thing and you talk their language, then like you said, you're going to mirror them and they're going to be like, yeah, I think this is worth the punt, as it were. And that's how you get your breaks.
Yeah, this is why I love the business that I'm in and getting to chat with guys like you, because the stories are so vastly different from all over the world, but at the same time, they kind of follow a similar theme. And one thing we really even haven't gotten into, and I want to kind of shift gears a little bit on before we close up the day, is the fact that you own a marketing company, but a lot of what you do is still sales related. So for the folks who are in that position that are selling and they're pretty good at what they do, but they're recognizing, hey, like I still got to keep a pipeline full. We're at the end of 2025 when we record this. Will come out probably early 2026. What are some of the trends we can look for going into the new year to pay attention and just make sure we're doing what we can to fill the pipeline? Because I'm sure you're probably more in the know than any of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So a few key things are with all the AI stuff, we all know about that nowadays, right? It makes it far, far easier to kind of do things at scale. But the problem with that as well is that there's still in any game, there's always going to be that 90% of people who are just lazy and they just go, yeah, I'll just chat GPT a cold email and stuff like that. So I'm like, right, so how can I 10x my cold outbound using AI? Not just send 10x more emails, how can I 10x the quality of my outbound? Personalize it, for example. How can I 10x my lead magnet? How can I improve my funnels and these types of things as well? And ultimately, that comes down to how much more can you personalize the experience of every prospect, and also as well, never ever underrate the value of still really keeping those human elements. Like, send them a voice note, right? Send them a quick video, like send them something in the mail, send them a letter, right? I've closed deals from sending a letter, a handwritten letter going, hey, just thinking about you, just wondering why you're still not ranking on Google, hit me up. And then they're like, love your letter, Dan. And they would send me a video, love your letter. Let's do business, and that kind of stuff like that. You can do all the other, automations, all that kind of stuff. Doing that is how you really get people's attention, do some of the unscalable. And so I would really look at kind of how you can kind of supplement all of that kind of automation and with that really truly personal, what makes you as an individual. And if you do that, you can still kind of get a lot of your kind of time savings from all of the kind of the processing, lead filtering, cleaning, like that kind of stuff, or like optimization for your ads, all those kinds of things. But just having that little layer is really the icing on the cake, I found, and it makes a massive difference there. And also, as well, I'd say the second one, which is just as important, is just if you do not have an ideal client profile in an ideal niche you want to work in, then you are literally going to be death by a thousand. It just straight up is not work. Just people seem to think that, oh, like just because there's 100,000 people in this total addressable market, that's not big enough. Well, how many clients do you need? Like 100, 1,000, 10,000? Like 10,000 clients would be a lot, right? You know what I mean? So like it's kind of like 100 clients would be a lot for a lot of businesses. So it's kind of like just understand that the more personalized you are and the more you have one client, the more you understand your niche, the more you're going to stand out. And if you focus on those two things, all the other AI and everything like that can just help with that. Don't replace that.
Dan, man, we could probably sit here and nerd out on this stuff for many, many hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. I also know this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the value and the content that you're sharing. So what's the best way for me and the listeners to come find you, follow you, check out more of your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me on the show. I've really enjoyed the chat, Drewbie. So the number one place for the socials, you can follow me on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn/Dan Charles, and you'll find me on there. Talk about marketing, sales, kind of the event industry. And the second place you can kind of check us out is on codarity.com. That's CODARITY.com. And hey, if you want to book an appointment, just go to the Get Started button and let's have a chat, see if we can help scale your event business.
Absolutely love it. And listen, if you guys got some value out of today's show, share it on social media, put it over on LinkedIn, tag Dan, tag me, let the world know you invested your most valuable asset, time, and you got something from it, right? And maybe, just maybe, you know somebody who sucks at sales, or they have a bunch of really bad clients that they need to get rid of, but they keep holding on to it like it's the only thing left on planet Earth. Maybe send this episode to them. Now, you don't have to tell them all those things that I just said about them, but like, hey, I heard this. I thought of you. I wanted to send it your way. I think you'll like it too. Because that's the whole point, right? When we have an opportunity to learn from someone, and one of the individuals that we're learning from is farther along in the game than us, we get the opportunity to save that time, and that becomes exponentially more valuable from a monetary standpoint. So, Dan, thank you so much for being here with us today again, man. I truly appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Listen, you guys know what to do next. Go leave us a review, subscribe, listen to all the other episodes. Maybe you have an awesome sales story and you want to share it on the show. You want to be a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. We'll get you booked in. While you're there, grab a hat, grab a sweatshirt, keychains, whatever you're feeling. Represent the movement, because the next thing we need to do is this. Pick up the phone, call the damn leads. We'll see you next time.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.